got our hands on a book with all the rules in the world. Corey Hodges, the de facto leader of our ragtag crew of small-time criminals, brought it to our attention. He said it wasn't exactly a grimoire, a book of magic spells, so much as it was a tome that students of the arcane believed to be magical. Sandwiched between Latin were all the rules in the world, in print so small and cramped that it was barely readable. It was so small, in fact, that you couldn't be sure whether it was handwritten or block printed. The book itself was incredibly heavy and awkward. It took 2 people just to carry it between them. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me go back to before we laid eyes on it. None of us should have believed in magic. We were too grounded in our next big score, be it pills or something a finger deadlier, to believe in that claptrap. Corey claimed that the tome would be auctioned off at some hole-and-corner meeting between strange rich fuckers. How did a small-time nobody like him get wind of it? Well, it just so happened that Corey overheard something he shouldn't have while vending Percocet. Drugs don't see differences. They unite rich and poor, secret as well as open criminals. A group of witches and warlocks or some shit had come to town. Fucking modern-day Fausts, who, we thought, may as well have been running about with their heads cut off. And I'm not talking about the kind that rests on the shoulders. They were using our neck of the woods for the auction, probably because it's off the radar. No one gives a shit out here. Police are too busy chasing their own tails. Like jewel thieves planning a heist, or bank robbers deciding whether to target the money truck or the vault itself, our fucked up selves got together in our usual roost, where we did takes of piss-cheap whiskey and coke, so impure that it mutated your DNA. We put together what some might call a plan, under the right conditions. We even robbed a dollar store of some of its school supplies, and got going with markers on poster board. "This is where they come out," Corey said. "We wait until the auction's over, and we let their need for secrecy do the work. Get them in the alley there." "What if they don't come out that way?" I said. I was always trying to check our leader. You might say I even had designs on the throne, but don't air that. Shit. Air away. I tend to forget what went down at the end. I want to forget. Anywho, I checked him, but Corey made some decent points. Heather, what you might call the brains if we had any, didn't exactly back him, but she didn't support any of my ideas either. Instead, she ran out the possibilities. Like, what if they were too hot to handle? What if someone was watching on the roof? What if they didn't show? Corey pretended to ignore her when she talked like that. Riggy stayed at Corey's side, and brought up how we could just jerry-rig something that would make those rich witch fucks come out the way we wanted. True to the moniker, Riggy was our locksmith and explosives guy, as well as fancying himself a bit of a MacGyver. Kids, we have MacGyver at home. MacGyver at home. So we went ahead with our simple plan. Nab whoever got in that alley who had hands on the book. The way Corey had heard it described, it was too big to miss. Of course, a lot of things could go wrong. We didn't know what the fuck we were doing. We'd taken a few steps past crossfading, into mind turf where geometries broke down. Heh, I got that from Corey. He was always saying weird stuff like that. Before the rooster even woke up to take a piss, much less crow, the day of the auction. Riggy jerry-rigged an explosive device on the business end of the meeting place. Lucky as fuck they had nobody on guard before the auction went down. Jingles, our jack-of-all-trades, but mostly our go-to for the lowest duties, kept watch. The place was some ex-seafood storage, at the end of a row of unoccupied buildings. It stank worse than the shit they would have sold back then. As the preliminaries got done, Heather and me did more of that DNA-warping dirty coke, off each other's asses, and then went to town on each other. Our fearful leader, Corey, who happened to be Heather's boyfriend, was off doing his thing. Whatever that was, that he tended to do right when stuff started to get serious. He'd come back, of course. I was pretty sure Corey knew about me and Heather, but he just didn't know how to deal with it yet. Fuck him. He'd let her slip through his fingers and into mine. While we were going at it, Heather pistol whipped me off of her. For as long as I knew her, Heather always liked to do it with guns nearby. That was her thing. I didn't ask. Shit, I said, holding what I was sure was a broken nose. I stood up from the dirty, bare mattress that was in Corey's pad. My nose, it turned out, wasn't broken. It wasn't even bleeding. Where the hell did that come from? I said. She got up, started putting her clothes back on. You're smarter than the rest of us put together, I said. And fuck Corey for not realizing that. When we get the book, she said, let's just keep it between me and you. Shit, I said. You can't mean... Oh, I mean it. Corey came back. By that point, we were sitting innocently at the kitchen table. He sniffed the air dramatically. I got up and traded looks with him. Just when I thought shit was going to air out and get real, he laid a hand on my shoulder. You're a fat ass, he told me. You're strong. I know, I said. I'm the fucking muscle. Should have kept your nose clean. You're one to talk. His hand squeezed my shoulder. He smiled. Crookedly. Me and Heather, he said, focus on getting the book out of their hands while you pick a fight with anybody your size. Don't know what kind of muscle or heat they might have under their britches. Don't know what kind of dicks they might be swinging. Fuck you, I almost said. But Heather got up from the kitchen table and peeled Corey's hand off my shoulder. All three of us should go after the book, she said. This isn't chess where you sacrifice your pawns. I'm not a pawn, I said. Exactly. She almost winked at me. Corey almost caught it. Just how much is this thing going to be worth? I asked. More than any of us could imagine, Corey said. Imagine it, I said. Give us a figure. He whispered something. A number so big that my eyes spun in place. The Book of Rules. The book of all the rules in the world. On the heels of a brick of cheap explosives, rocking near the main entrance where the auction had taken place, that book came out of a rusty, stained metal side door in the hands of a tall man. The three beside him were larger. Corey and Heather and me came from different sides of the alley. Figures were dancing in my head. Bad coke was hammering against the inside of my body, pushing me through that first right hook to the face that was still sore from the pistol whip. I'd missed my first punch. Drugs are bad, kids. I almost got my ass kicked because of it. The only thing that saved us was us three getting the jump, and Heather deciding to pull her gun at just the right moment. You had to time that kind of thing just right, lest they were packing and you get gunned down yourself. Also, the little explosion. Tailor might not have been a word in Riggy's vocabulary, but he'd done his best to tailor that explosion to not be so big it would get the wrong kind of attention. To put it simply as fuck, he'd emptied a garbage can near the front door, set the bomb inside, and muffled it in some shit that would not catch fire. Fires would draw the wrong kind of attention, too. Jingles had ignited it, and by then would have been bicycling down Rat's Sack, which wasn't near big enough for cars to follow him. Riggy's package had not only herded those with the book out the door we wanted, but they were shook by the time that Heather, Corey, and me got a hold of them. I countered the other guy's right hook with a kick below the belt. No time for grace when you're outnumbered. Then swung to my next big guy and got him in the throat. Followed that up with a half spear, just enough to get him grounded without leaving my own feet. Corey hit the other guy from the side with a pipe wrench. I'm not sure who was classier. Heather shoved the gun in the face of the man who'd been holding half the book. He was tall but scholarly, and perverted looking. Wore a black suit and gray fedora with a teardrop crown. Skin was pale enough to show veins. He'd been holding half the book, but he'd had to drop it when Corey had clocked the larger guy helping him. "Back up from the book," Heather said. "Body against the door." Others were coming. Heather was steps ahead. What was that she had mentioned about this not being chess? The door slammed into the tall dude's body, crumpling it. But the three of us were already ducked into a tunnel, which Riggy had blasted out of the side of an adjacent building ahead of time. One lined with filthy rags, so you couldn't see the hole was there. There may have been a pursuit, but other holes had been blasted beforehand. In walls, mostly. Muffled blasts, of course. No use having cops stick their noses in. And always, he'd fix it up so you couldn't tell it was a hole. What can I say? Riggy might have been better than we gave him credit for. Probably there was an easier way. But that's Riggy, and that's us for you. We escaped, carrying that book between the three of us. I kept expecting Heather to stop and put her gun on Corey, but she never did. In case you were wondering, none of us were wearing masks to hide our faces. I could say we didn't see the point of it, that we suspected those people to be on the wrong side of the law themselves. For what, we didn't know. But the truth was that we flat forgot. Like I said, drugs are bad. Before long, we were back at the pad. Corey's place that the rest of us scrounged some money for, mostly by ill-gotten ways. Riggy and Jingles were waiting on us. We put that thick-ass book full of rules on the table, surrounded it. "So what now?" I said. "How the fuck are we supposed to find a buyer for something like this?" "That was never the point," Corey said. "Say what?" Heather's hands were hanging awfully close to the gun still tucked in her waistband. I kept looking at her, hoping she'd gaze back, hoping I'd get a clue about what was going on inside her head. "They want to use this book to make more rules." Corey ran his hand over the cover. A cover I thought looked new for as ancient as it was supposed to be. New, but suggesting old. It was black and gold embossed, looking like some kind of ageless vampire. The design was interlocking flowers. Thorny. Each petal was different. No words on the cover. Corey said, "There are too many. But on the other ball-scratching hand, without any rules at all, what would happen?" "Well," Jingles said, his nose rings jingling, "I suppose you could get whatever you wanted then." Corey opened the book himself. The print, almost small enough to be a wish, ran on and on. Between things was the Latin. Now, I'm pretty sure that none of us, even Corey or Heather, knew Latin. But Corey didn't want to put new rules in, so he wouldn't need the esoteric incantations or whatever the fuck that Latin was. Corey had other plans. Plans he hadn't shared with the rest of the group. "If we burn this," he said, "easy enough, right? So what happens?" "Like I says," Jingles was picking at one of his nose rings, "you might get whatever you wanted. It'll be pandemonium out there with the meat laid out for the taking. Lootin' and tootin'. Panda-fucking-monium." Riggy was quiet, but I could see his wheels turning. I could only imagine all the havoc he might cook up. "Pandemonium," Corey said, "is a dream. And a whore." He turned to Heather, grinned. I couldn't help my hands from balling into fists. Heather finally glanced back at me, shook her head. You could tell Riggy and Jingles were tense too. You could measure it with how much rattle Jingles was making, without even really moving. I'm sure they probably had a good idea of what was going on between me and Heather too. "What happens if we burn all the rules in the world?" Corey said. "And the magic is real." "Everything goes away," Heather said. "Everything." Her hands drifted from the gun tucked in her waistband. "Fuck you," Riggy said. "I want to live." "Oh, we'd still be alive." Corey licked his fingers and began turning the pages. "It would be everything and nothing. Enlightenment, nirvana, no time, no matter, no flesh to make us desire what we shouldn't have." His eyes flicked to me. I started to move. Heather was pulling her weapon before I could measure. The pain that rocked my shoulder buckled me before I understood the source. The sound of a gun going off. I was on the floor, bleeding. "Heather, what the fuck?" Already, I was too weak to stand. I gripped my shoulder, trying to keep my life from falling out between my fingers. "Anybody else moves?" Heather said. "Gets in the way of burning this book? You'll get similar treatments." "I'm all in," Jingles said, compliant as a prison bitch. "Go for it," Riggy said. I couldn't get a look at him anymore from my vantage, to the right and below the table, but I imagined there was a twinkle in his eye. Seemed Corey intended to set off an explosion that might end it all, and do a load more, too. An explosion to end all explosions. The end of rules. Universes and time and everything else taking a flatline quantity of coke. "You imbeciles," I growled. "I won't be a part of this." "Then stay down," Heather said. "Probably bleed to death before I can do anything." "Let's put it in the oven," Corey said. "That's easiest. Make sure to preheat at 350 degrees for 15 minutes. Then bake until golden brown," I said. The pain was tremendous, but I figured I'd talk myself through it. I actually managed to get an eye roll out of Heather. Figured that was good for something. They turned on the oven. 3 of them picked up the black and gold tome and placed it inside. They waited. I bled. I fancied that if I turned myself over, I might be able to drown in my own blood. That might be a tinkle better than watching whatever was going to go down once all the rules were dead. 15 minutes passed. 15 whole minutes. Then flame blossomed behind the oven window. I could actually see the oven better from the ground. Not that it helped me much. About like taking the blindfold off somebody set in front of a firing squad. "There it is," Corey said. "There it fucking is." He raised his arms like a religious freak, about to be whisked away into the arms of something bigger. Corey was the first to go. His feet did begin to leave the floor, and at the same time, his body spasmed into a million things at once, like hidden frames in a video that you can't rewind and pause on, and then he just poofed away. I'm no science guy, but the nearest thing I can figure is that gravity for Corey got shut down. That's one rule. At the same time, whatever forces were holding his body together, whatever rules there were for that, were killed. And at the same time as all that, uncountable other rules had been snuffed out for him. I'm not sure if he reached his nirvana. I'm not sure if he's dead or alive forever. For better or worse. In that little kitchen, at least, the rules were gone. For them. I watched as, one by one, my cohorts met a similar fate. A clatter of jewelry hit the deck when Jingle's body disappeared. You might say that Riggy exploded and imploded at the same time. Heather tried to turn the gun on herself, but was too late. I watched through eyes where blood, the blood I had rubbed into them, and tears commingled. I bore witness as her gun fell, useless for whatever threat there was in her past that needed it. A part of her past I regretted being too scared to talk about. Whatever she'd gone through before, it didn't matter then. I finally screamed when she disappeared, my entire body rocking. It was my turn next. You might say I tried to feel my own molecules, like I'd be able to detect them vibrating or something. Instead, someone kicked down the front door. It was those big guys we jumped. Pale, tall, muscly dudes. They didn't spare me much attention before focusing on the book. Like they already knew where it was. They used some raggedy oven mitts Corey probably had never worn once, and kitchen utensils to dig in the oven and pull out the burning book. Might have been better off letting it cool down first, but they were impatient. Didn't seem like they were burned, though. When they pulled it out, I was sure it had practically started to become ash. I was sure they had burned that book. But when the auction winner entered the little party, too, to recollect his winnings, he glided in to speak some strange words over the ruin on the table. I pushed through the pain, raised myself up a little, stretched my neck, and got a glimpse of the renewal. The book was whole again. I may have asked a question or two. I don't remember. At that point, I could feel the Reaper's scythe cutting into my ass. My head was getting messy. The tall, pale man in the fedora walked over to me. He stepped through my blood like it was nothing but every day for him, and he patted me on the head like I was a dog. "What your little friends didn't know," he said, "is that this book is protected and watched." Of course, I thought, somewhere in the mush of my mind. A book like that? If it's magic? Surely somebody would use magic to look over it. "Can you bring them back?" I asked. "Can you bring Heather back?" "Earnslad," he said. He gave me another pat, walked right out the door with his people and the book, making footprints with my blood all the while. And I haven't seen him since. I got myself jerry-rigged up. Good enough at any rate to share this with you. I'd been crawling along the street outside before my lights went out, and I woke up in the ER. Takes extra good citizens to look out for a piece of shit like myself, especially in this neck of the woods. My hat's off to them, whoever they were. I thought the book with all the rules in the world had been burned. But who are we to put stake in something like that? Bigger forces. The rules. They multiply. Pretty soon, they might just press out the rest of us. Become a channel member today for early access, bonus videos, and special emojis only available to members. Check out the description below or click the join button for more info. If you'd like another way to help support the channel, please consider joining my Patreon page at patreon.com/JordanGroupeHorror. As a patron, you'll get access to bonus videos and content. You'll be credited at the end of every video going forward. And if you decide to stay for 3 months, I'll name a character after you, which will be featured in a Hollow's End story. Links to join the Patreon are in the description. Thanks everyone for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment to help the channel continue to grow. And see you again next time at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you have a great night.